Good morning. It is Saturday, day 4 of 22 days of connection. I look beat up. I look toe up from the flow up. I just woke up from a nap, and as I'd mentioned before, I'm 2 weeks into recovering from a major surgery, and it just takes so much out of me, of our bodies, period, when we're recovering from something that's been, massively physically affecting. And I believe also it takes a massive amount of effort. It's very exhausting to try and get past something mentally that's affecting us also. So bear with me here. So today I want to talk about science and how remarkable our brains are. I had mentioned before that I had some family members who had some mental health issues, and I had loved ones that around the early 90s was when Prozac first came out and started getting really popular. Prior to that, the protocol was MAOI, and then they moved over to the SSRIs, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And the idea was serotonin is this feel-good drug or hormone, and either your body isn't producing enough or it's absorbing it too quickly. So they made a drug, and they have a whole classification of them now, that there's like this, how the synapse works. You release the serotonin over here, and then you uptake it over here. And so they figured out how to slow down the process here of uptake so that whether you don't produce enough or if this, is taking it too fast, it leaves a greater number in between during the time. So during that whole process, I got a little concerned myself about Prozac, and I was hearing a lot of misinformation, and I just didn't understand it. So I picked up a book called Listening to Prozac, and a very wonderful book if you're interested in not only in the history of depression, of psychology, of diagnostic, of, brings up a lot of really good questions too of where we're headed. And in there, they discussed the concept of kindling. So kindling was first identified. They did an experiment where they had rats, and they implanted electrodes on their brain in the areas that produce seizures. And what they found is over time, you'd raise the level of electricity more until you finally caused the rat to seize. And then over time, it caused less and less of an impulse in order for that rat to continue to seize more and more until finally the rat was just seizing continually. And what they found is that you have this initial traumatic event, and then that creates a neural pathway. So you have event reaction, and over time, it takes less and less of the stimulation over here to produce the same reaction. So that is kind of the bummer news for me is, the brain itself will say, hey, we're going to establish a pathway. That's all the little wrinkles in your brain. If you see a baby's brain, it's very smooth. So we have a bunch of pathways on our brain, and those are all, basically, just imagine you're out blazing a trail, and, you have those trails that are really well worn, and they've got big ruts in them, and those have been happening for a long time. That's just, hey, this happens, and this is where I go. This is what I do. This is how I react. So the wonderful thing is that I believe life is self-correcting, and I think that we can blaze new trails. I know we can blaze new trails in our brain, but it requires consistent effort in a new direction over time. That's how you produce results. So people are really good about like, hey, I can't just go to the gym one day and eat healthy one day and then expect to be like a hard body. However, I think that we really would kind of like that to happen. Like, give me a pill, or, let me go, give me a timeline on how long I have to go to therapy and be better. And none of this is simple. I'm not saying it was. It was very, very hard for me it took a long time for me to get to where I was when I finally recognized my issues. And it takes me a long time to get to where I am right now. So there is hope, though. I will say one of the things that happened that was, it's just an absolutely miraculous story, is one of my coworkers, one of the places I worked, had a daughter who had a stroke in utero, and half of her brain, one whole hemisphere, was dead when she was born. And so the doctors had a very dire prognosis for her. But because you can create new pathways in the brain, and because they were so proactive about this, and they, made these associations, and they stimulated her in ways and everything like that, she's now a fully functioning, just amazing kid, to the point where she had previously been in some special assisted classes, and they finally went, she doesn't even need to be here anymore. So there is hope, absolutely. And I wanted to kind of put that out there, the idea about science and our remarkable brains, and then we can actually exercise them in ways so that if what's working for us emotionally right now, how we react to situations isn't working, we can kind of create a plan and then execute that over time, blaze a new trail, and then maybe that new healthy trail will be the rutted one. So whenever we have a moment where we're like, oh, here's the stimulus, and I've been here before, and you're at that fork, you say, oh, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to choose to take this one that's a lot healthier for me. And over time, that's been successful for me. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you.